I like playing stupid because that way when I'm actually stupid, like people can't tell. So I was having this conversation. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, and like blank serious conversations. We had gone from like economics to like I don't know, save investments, and then I was like, we're talking about lifestyles now, and I was like, you know, I've been thinking about doing some outdoorsy stuff, you know, some camping. I've seen this real upkick of urban camping. There's these guys over under the bridge near my house. They've just little tents popped up, and those guys just live out there, and I think it's a cool lifestyle. I'm gonna try to get into it.
It saves a lot of money.
I'm gonna try to be homeless.
I feel like if you could live in a tent for just a year, you'd save like what, $20,000 in rent.
They're like
money for hepatitis treatment.
They're like those people don't have homes, and a lot of them are mentally ill. Like they're trying to be kind to me, and I'm like, no. I see them out there. They've got like lawn chairs. They're relaxing. They're definitely not trying to like get a job or anything. Look, if they were homeless, they'd be out working to get a job or something. They wouldn't be just relaxed. One was asleep out there in the middle of the day. I had stuff to do, and he was napping. No way.
No, hold on, Kyle.
These guys are millionaires.
Was this when you visited Wings? Because that's just South Carolina from the south.
Dude, hear me out on this. This will take a minute. I went to the Harley Davidson dealership, and the lead salesman there and I were talking about being rich versus being wealthy, stuff like that. And he asked, is LeBron James rich? And the answer was no. I'm sorry. Yes, he's not wealthy, though, because LeBron James has to show up tomorrow morning and do what someone tells him to. He's still under contract, right? There's still some man with his foot on the back of LeBron James's neck, even though he's probably threatening $1 billion. He's just rich. The guy that pays LeBron James, he's wealthy because that guy sets his own lifestyle. By that measure, the people that Kyle doesn't want to give money to are also wealthy. There's no one telling them what to do. They wake up every day and decide what they want to do, not what they have to do.
At what point did I say I didn't want to give money to them? I drive by every day and throw a fistful of pennies at them.
Is it still in the roll?
I shoot silver dollars out of a t-shirt cannon at those ungrateful cunts. Oh, I have head trauma.
On the overpass.
Yeah, we'll pay for it with the $7 I gave you, dumbass. Do you ever think like that Sunny episode? He's like, it's like when you drive by a homeless guy with a mouthful of champagne and you spit it on him, and he doesn't even get a full mouthful; he just gets a little taste. It's just like in this
but good life.
Wendigoon, you were talking about. No, you're fine. You're fine. You started to go into your worst injury. I was interested in that.
Yeah, so I've actually, knock on wood right now, never had a broken bone. Somehow I've managed to live, I guess, just pampered enough to where that hadn't happened. Some of the most painful injuries I ever had, one was during baseball. I remember I took a fastball to the funny bone. That was not fun. I thought I broke it. I didn't. I just was in misery for a bit. Got on base though. There was that. The single most painful event of my life was when I was 10 or 11 years old. I had a couple baby teeth that stuck around way too long. They wouldn't come out. And it's because the root never eroded away and they never fell out. So I had to get them removed by a dentist. And the dentist was like, oh, well, we'll just give him a shot of lidocaine. The root's probably, already done in them. It'll be fine. So he gives me the shot back behind where the infection and the buildup is from everything. And then goes in front of the infection to where the teeth are and starts to pull them out. And I was in the most pain ever. I was screaming. There had to be the assistants hold me down to the chair. And my mom was like, is he okay? And I'll never forget the dentist going, oh, he's just overreacting a little bit. I wanted to strangle him to death right there. I hear
what a terrible dentist.
Oh, I was so furious. That clinic shut down, by the way. You get what you pay for. That guy, I hear him rip out the first one. He goes, oh, this has still got a root. Oh well, and then just immediately goes for the
Goebbels DMD. Oh my god!
Yeah, he's got a lunch he's got to make, so you got to deal with it. That fucking sucks. Tooth stuff is notoriously the worst. Everyone says because it's so close to your head.
Well, you got to apply the anesthetic.
To this day, I refuse to go get my teeth cleaned at any place twice, because once they think I'm comfortable there, it's like,
tooth
now
cleanings are a scam.
now they're going to get me. I'm going somewhere else. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
tooth cleanings are a scam. Just drink water.
big,
right.
big dentist.
Oh, what? You can't gargle on your own? You need Mr. Thirsty to be part of the scenario? Get out of here.
You just eat something gritty. I eat 2 tablespoons of sand a day.
Now, look,
and my oral health is
you don't swallow the sand. You rinse it around and then spit it out.
One story I wanted to mention, only because you brought up both Nazis and money, and I thought it was funny. So at church, a bunch of the little kids, I'm a Sunday school teacher for like older groups. But like the little kids like to ask me questions about, whatever, because I'm just nice. And a few Sundays ago, there hasn't been a place to tell anyone else's story, but it's been bothering me. A kid comes up to me before the service and he tugs on my pant leg and he was like, I'm like, oh, hey, what are you doing, buddy? This kid's like 6, maybe 7. And I'm like, how's it going? He said, I had a question I want to talk to you. I'm like, yeah, sure. Whatever it is, man. What is it? And he was like, what does the Bible say about evil people? And I'm like, that's like a big question. Like that's a lot.
Lots of things.
A whole lot, as a matter of fact. So then I give him, whatever Sunday school teacher answer. And then he goes, so where was Hitler in the Bible? And I just kind of freeze for a second. I'm like, Hitler, he wasn't in it per se. And then before I could say anything else, the kid goes, but wasn't he rich? And I just like froze. I'm like, who has told you anything that you know about anything? So
rich, and no, just tell him Hitler's at the end. And
that would have been my last day as a Sunday school teacher. The ultimate reality that I would have woven for him in that moment would have gotten me fired. Yes, he was rich.
Listen.
He had all of the moon diamonds.
Was rich? I never even stopped to consider that.
He was. Yeah. Well,
he was after he took
he was
power.
Using the party's money, but yeah, it's the same
was
thing.
He? I don't think he grew up rich, right?
He came from
he didn't.
He was very poor, and then
he was originally assigned to go investigate this little splinter political group called the National Socialist. What are they? Wings.
National Socialist.
National Party.
And he got there, and he became enamored with them. He was like, actually, I kind of want to be a part of this, and like that's how he got into the whole thing. But
that would be a hilarious guy like on Blue Check Twitter now who's like, I'm nothing like anyone else. I'm a hardcore nationalist, but I'm a socialist. And he tries to get himself lauded from both sides. And then they're like, haha, bitch.
Isn't that the thing? Y'all know better than I do, but isn't that the thing Wing said everyone memed on him for? He was like, I believe nationalism, not understanding what he was saying or whatever. Yeah.
I think you should give another try, he said.
And he also could have added like the addendum or whatever of like, yeah, that seems like a good idea. Minus all that Jew stuff. Like, that seems troublesome.
It's fun to laugh at him and meme at him, but the chat has gotten me to say some stupid shit too. So
he didn't know what he was saying.
I've said stuff that's so
he
terrible.
meant socialism
and stupid.
Yeah.
He meant socialism and national socialism. I don't know. Did he think that was like?
He literally just meant a form of socialism. I think what he meant, I can't say, but it seems like he's like, a form of socialism that prioritizes the members of America first or whatever. And then it's like, so and then he's like, that sounds right.
He was talking about healthcare and said he would prefer that things go to like healthcare within a country rather than foreign aid. And someone's like, oh yeah, that's called national. So he just looks over at Chad and he's like, yeah, that. Let's give that a try again. That's a good way to go.
No, and he's like, yeah, that sounds good. National Socialist.
Streams doing it.
That's what he does. He like phrases it out. He goes, he like reads the question out loud. He's like, what do I think of national? And then he gives it praise. He's like, I think it could work. We just need to give it another try. Something like that. You're just like, God, that couldn't have came out of your mouth in a worse way.
That poor guy.
I mean, he's not like they could have run that system without being like fucking murderous monsters. They could have done that. without being like
well, they also like
Jewish
Oh.
genocidal maniac.
I had no idea what you were talking about. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, I was meaning like his idea.
National socialism in America. I would like to try it. The problem is society as a whole moves slowly.
Did you see the last frame? It was him.
That's
Oh my
okay.
God.
That's super fucking funny. But we all know what he meant. Like
We all know
no
what
one
he
can
meant.
say he's a Nazi. He doesn't.
No, of course he's not a
The-
Nazi. Although he does have a shaved head. Wendigoon does all
Very
sorts
good
of
content.
conspiracy theories and creep shit. He does icebergs about creepy stuff and some more mundane stuff as well. Very interesting stuff. I recently was a month and a half ago, watched one of your videos, and it was about a mystery that I had heard of before, but the time I'd heard of it before was probably from like one of those like Fox specials where they leave it up in the air. Was it aliens or the devil?
It's one of the two.
50-50.
It's definitely one of them.
But it was and I think it might be one that I have mocked on here before because of one of the facts in the case. So this is you'll know them right away. I know the pieces. This is the one where that lady survivalist led her group of student survivalists, and only one ended up surviving their retreat, and that person that was a young lady, and she reported the rest of the group like falling ill, going into seizures, clawing at their skin, their faces and stuff, and dying subsequently. And she couldn't understand or make what was happening, and so she just fled. And like 2 or 3 more days later, they found her, but then they didn't go back for the bodies for like a couple of weeks or something like that. By then, the evidence was so, and no one's ever really figured out. But it's could you help me out with like what
Absolutely.
actually?
Yeah. So that's the Kamar Daban Pass. That's the region where it happened. It happened in, I think it was the 80s, if I remember correctly, 80s, 90s, on the border of Russia and Kazakhstan in a region known as like the Kamar Daban mountain region. I gave most of the details in the video, but the short run through is that this lady was known for taking these groups of hikers on these like week-long hiking trips up into the mountains around Kazakhstan, which are pretty considerable mountains. You've got to be like a decent survivalist to begin with to get up there. And this specific group that she went with was a group of her students, so to speak, who she'd been doing it with for a couple of years. So they were like very experienced. And this pass that they were going on wasn't particularly hard by any means. It was comparatively easy. They had taken all the food that they needed for the amount of time given. There was other groups who were hiking the mountain at the same time that they had planned to have rally points where they would meet up and then continue. And then one day, I believe it was about 5 days into the trip, the other group she was supposed to meet with did not see her at one of these rally points, or her group. And it had rained the day before. So there's a good idea for what the region's like. It had rained the day before, so they just figured, oh, well, they probably just got slowed down because of the rain. And like, we'll see them whenever we get there. But sure enough, they get to the bottom of the mountain, and that group isn't there. So eventually, they launch an investigation. People start looking. And then about 3 days later, one of the students who was in that group shows up at a local city. And she goes to the police and tells them a whole story. The exact details of what she said isn't known. And then 2 weeks after that, and that's like one of the real suspicious details of the case. They didn't launch an investigation for 2 weeks. Weather was pretty clear at the time. 2 weeks later, they go look for them up on top of the mountain. And then there is video footage of the entire search for them and their eventual finding of the body. And then I believe it was 6 people. The survivor made 7. 6 people, all within a couple hundred feet of each other, are just lying dead in a clearing on top of the mountain. They're like, a couple of them are lying next to each other. One of them's like more towards the woods as if they're running away. 2 more together at the front of the woods. And it starts to paint a really weird picture. The initial idea at the time was that the survivor had murdered the others, because logically, if 6 people die, only 1 comes back, that would be the solution. However, there was no evidence on the bodies that there was any kind of fight or any kind of strangulation marks or whatever. But then even more suspiciously, after doing a full autopsy, there was no evidence of anything that happened to these bodies. They just kind of dropped over. There wasn't signs that you would see in hypothermia, like late stage, like like what is it, like the lung fluid starts to contract or recede or whatever, and the skin of the bodies were too decomposed at this point to see if they were like, you know, frozen up or anything. So it remained a total mystery of what had happened for about 20 years. Eventually, a reporter, actually it's like more like 30 years, it's like 28, a reporter eventually tracked down the one survivor and asked for testimony, because what had happened is she gave the police a testimony and then never mentioned it to anyone else. So she finally sat down with the reporter after 30 years and gave her side of the story and said that what had happened is they were just walking down the mountain. Everything was normal. It had rained the day before, although they were okay. They had ate breakfast. And then one of them starts screaming and coughing up blood. And then it was the teacher, runs over to help him out. She kneels down next to him and immediately starts coughing up blood too. She looks up at the group and blood is running out of her eyes, and she's telling them to get away. So, of course, the 5 remaining begin to freak out and run. And as they're running, one of the guys drop. Exact same thing happens to him. One of the girls, I think it was maybe his girlfriend or something, comes back to help. Same thing happens later. To her.
Carry on.
Yeah, it's like such a weird, bizarre story.
Yeah.
Eventually, the rest of them run, and the only one who keeps running and does not succumb to whatever's happening is the one girl who ended up being a survivor. She had enough temporary shelter on her back that she was able to set up camp for the night, although all of the food was with the people who had died. So the next day she did the math and was like, I can't walk for 4 days without food or water. I'm going to have to go back to the bodies. So the next morning she gets up, she goes back to the bodies, and they're all still laying there. They're in the exact same position that they had dropped down at. So she took her food and managed to make the hike. The 4 days, went to the police station. And the reason she said that she had never told that story is because she assumed no one would believe her and would think that she's covering up for some reason. Because, you know, if one girl survives a hiking trip and then is like, oh no, they all started bleeding from the face, that's going to cause some suspicion, which is the reason she told
when
them.
they found the bodies, and you were saying they didn't see anything about them like having, you know, died in a curious condition. Mm-hmm. What about all the vomiting and the blood and the
it had been 2 weeks outside, so like the top layer of skin was just like darkened, sunken in across the face. All the blood at that point had either, whenever someone dies outside in the woods, there's a lot of bloating and like pustules and other gross stuff.
Not to mention the crows had picked these people's eyeballs out, and like the foxes ate their lips off. Like God knows what was left of them.
Yeah, probably looked pretty bad.
You can't see like the full body on the video, but he comes up to someone who's laying face down, and you can see his hands, and they're just like black and emaciated. So they're in a pretty rough condition. They weren't able to tell anything, like if they're
like one of those Everest bodies you see.
Yeah.
Where it's like they look like a really old piece of dog shit.
So I think one of your explanations, and probably the one that you think is the best, is what I agree with, and it makes a lot of sense to me. But before we I feel like it's almost a spoiler. Let's see what Woody and Taylor, do you guys have any theories about like what could have gone wrong here?
So she didn't murder them.
You know where this happened, the time of year. That was one of the theories. And you know the roughly the
I like this game, Kyle. This is good. This is
the murder thing. The murder thing doesn't make sense because you said it was a woman who survived, and it was a group of people who would have like fought back if someone was just like sort of willy-nilly murdering.
Yeah, the survivor was
what about poison? Girl. Like, could you poison? Are there any berries that cause symptoms what they experienced, or any food like that in the region?
Go ahead.
Well, they're all survivalists, right? Like they know the poison.
I think it'd be bad ones.
From the good.
I painted something today. It's terrible.
But these are.
Taylor, I don't like the way you're doing this. You need to lay out your
let me lay this out. So
Wendigoon
gave you like the fast forward version, but these are the best. This lady, like I think I've made fun of her before in the past. Like some lady led a bunch of kids up into the wilderness, and then they all ran out of their tents naked at night and froze to death. Like I think that's what I had heard. But no, like she was a legit like fucking Sarah Connor style survivalist lady who knew her shit and knew how many calories each person would need to be eating each day down to 100 calories. And like she was an expert.
Here's my theory.
Okay.
She looked at her food supplies, determined that there wasn't enough for everyone to live. found some way to kill the people around her, so that she could, and made it out.
Okay. So murder is
murder is the way I'm going on this.
Okay.
All right.
Did she report that they were like short on food during their expedition? I
So
guess if you murdered
whenever-
someone for food, you wouldn't.
They could have made it out. They could have made it out without food as long as they had water, right? Because like they're survivalists. They
4
could have
days.
eaten-
Yeah.
They could,
To continue giving the facts, whenever they found the bodies, most of them had their food supplies still on them that hadn't been ate through,
Okay.
indicating that they didn't starve. So
Oh, I'm gonna change my answer. There was a romance thing. She didn't like. There was some sort of interpersonal thing
it's a
going on.
7-way, and she wanted to be she wanted a good old fashioned traditional 4-way.
Wait, God intended.
Like this guy,
Poor
like
men,
that
just being
guy,
men.
this guy like a girl, but she wanted to be liked instead. So she murdered like 3 or 4 of them, so they wouldn't know she was targeting that girl in particular.
Or maybe
But it all happened
like-
so quickly, apparently, because they're
like I-
all in that little area.
Well, if I thought it was that, I would probably imagine a scenario where she killed one girl, but then she got caught, and like maybe they were like, you killed Amber, we're telling on you when we get back, and then she poisons everybody that night. Like
just
you could
became a brawl. Oh,
Yeah.
you're saying she killed them after one murder. I see what
yeah. Because what are they going to do? Arrest her? They're 4 days out. They're like, I can't believe that's what would happen. They'd be like, I can't believe you killed Amber. And maybe they got into a fight.
You don't tie him up or something. If someone murders someone on a camping trip, you don't go, "Hey, strike one, Buster." That's fucking absurd. No, you would tie them up and leave them, if anything. Like,
if it was a cute girl and there were other girls there to be like, Mark, you're not going to tie up Becky, are you? Her hands are turning blue. She said she can't breathe. What do you mean she can't breathe? Her hands are tied. She can't breathe.
I don't imagine.
You
that.
cut those ropes just to avoid the screaming.
Just
This is funny because
no, that's how
Kyle
it happened.
knows-
And then one guy got so tired of it, he tied them all up, and then he
he just left them.
peace. Just a random
It's real
woodsman was
weird.
like,
all
"You're-"
6 of them were tied up in one circle. Crazy how bears do that randomly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying. There must be an answer to this that you guys
There is.
know. I don't want you. I keep going back to poison. I don't understand
It's
what
okay
can
to
make
be wrong,
everyone
Taylor.
do the
Just move
same
the show
thing.
along.
Yeah, according to my theory, the one that like I subscribe to, you're not far off with the poison.
Mm-hmm.
All
I was
right.
about to say that. Yeah.
What do they suspect?
Spill the beans, Wendigoon.
Yes,
Tell
I'll
us.
spill the beans. All right. So this is kind of like a bit of a cheat because you didn't know this information going in. However, this region of the Kamar-Daban region, which is again on the border of
It's full of ghosts.
Very haunted.
Notoriously full of ghosts.
the ghost.
It's
poison.
the home of the Ghoul King.
Oh yeah, it's a bad area where we got bad with ghosts. Lousy with ghosts. Yeah.
Right. Right with the
Right with ghosts.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's ghost season up there. You jest, but this is how most of the theories I read about. This is where they come from.
They're fun. I like it.
They are. Anyway, so that region that's on the Russian border was used during the Cold War as a weapons testing facility. That is an openly documented fact that they would use the mountains to test mortar fire or artillery barrages, and most importantly for this story, gas attacks. There are specific strains of nerve gas that were tested in the region at that time that can last in the air for, I think some of them are up to like a year and a half. Like once they're
Jesus
detonated,
Christ.
they just have to disperse and then hopefully no one breathes it in. And a lot of them were detonated like in these completely obscure like canyons and mountains for that reason. Most importantly to this story, most of them are pliable to water. So if you were to physically flush a region or wash it, it would cause the gas to not be destroyed, but to move somewhere else. So the theory that a lot of people subscribe to, and the one that makes the most sense to me, is that they're hiking down the mountainside, and then it had rained the day before, which again matters for this story. So it rains, and this rain causes a washout of a mountain, a canyon, a valley, or something, and causes the gas to move along the mountainside. This group of hikers are then walking, and it's also important for this story. This was like in the final years of the Cold War, whenever stuff like nerve gas was being developed a lot. So it makes sense that if they did test it, it would still exist around there. So So they're walking down the mountainside, and then all it takes, I forget what the name of the one I showed in the video was that was tested in that region, but it is so effective that like half of one of Kyle's vape hits would kill you instantly. It just takes a very minute amount. So as it's flooding through the region, one of them just breathes in a little bit, and that would immediately cause the lining of their lungs to begin to fall apart. It would cause the bleeding of the eyes and other soft tissues. Another detail I didn't mention, according to the survivor... Kyle's dying. Yeah, see, like that, the nerve gas, there it goes. What I saw that scratch in your eyes. What I didn't mention is one of the girls who was affected, according to the survivor, she started bashing her head onto a rock and like scratching at her throat, indicating that it was painful or she could feel something in there. So that would explain what Kyle's about.
What about the rock? Because of the pain?
Oh, well, she would have been feeling like the inside of her eyes and like nasal cavity bleeding and flaring out. And according to this girl, she just started hitting her head against a rock as she was dying.
That is so fucked up.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. That would also explain why one of them got affected, and then the person who came to stand in the same spot they were also got infected. There's also the very important mention from the survivor that it was foggy on the mountain that day, which could have not entirely been fog. So yeah, the theory that a lot of people go with, and I'm not the only harebrained one, this is kind of like the consensus online, so to speak.
No, I'm in, man.
That they were victims of old Soviet weapon testing. So
yeah, that makes when you said that in your video, I was like, yes, that checks too many boxes with it's in the right region, the right time frame, and the right effects. And I don't know anything. I'm sure there's some poisons that would cause that, but none that should be there other than the ones that were being tested there in the region. Now, whether it was a cloud of it that like moved in a special, unique way, that I'm not so sure. I could easily see one of them found the shell and had it in his bag. And then maybe the cops found it and were like, oh, call the military. And the military was like, you never saw this. Like something like that could have happened. But
that's
because the cloud seems like funky to me.
That's also part of the reason. So her original police statement was never published. She said later that's the story she told the police, and they kept it confidential for some reason. And that's also why people think the police didn't investigate for 2 weeks. Because the police are like, oh, well, that's the old weapons testing. We want to make sure that stuff clears out of the area before we go up there and go looking.
Because the military is like, hey, police, give us 2 weeks. And then trust me, you can walk on as much grass and turn over as many leaves as you like.
During the Cold War, anything like that would have been suppressed. The United States was suppressing tons of stuff, and the Soviets were even worse. You needed to hide every failure because it made you, it was life or death. If it looked like they might win that launch sequence battle, then they might actually do it. That's why you had to stay a step ahead, or at least so we were told. So it happened again. It happens, I would say every 3 or 4 years is a big story where some suave prisoner is able to honey dick one of his guards and get her to release him or even run off with him. And that happened, I guess, with that guy from Alabama, where like he's 6'9", by the way, big boy.
I saw that picture. He's enormous.
He's enormous.
Kyle.
I could have probably worked something like that out. There was some cute. Well, not really. There was some rough. That's the thing. The kind of lady who is a prison guard is a rough ass bitch. Okay,
Yeah.
You saw this blonde lady's picture, like her top lip. He's like, hey, and so she's got this like no top lip thing. She looks special at
Prison guard
anyway.
lip.
Like she doesn't smile like people who've ever looked at like, oh, this isn't my best smile. Let's work on this a little bit in the mirror. Make sure we don't look ridiculous every time we take a picture. Like no one ever told her she looks absurd in a picture. You can tell that she'd be easy to honey dick. And so that's what happened. He honey dicked her and she ran off with him. And they've been on like, I don't know, it's been 2 weeks now.
They've been on the lam.
See, I mean,
Man. What is Dumbo doing over there? Look at those flappers. My word.
That's not his best picture. Can we see him with the beard? Because that's a better look for him.
I was looking at that sundial nose.
I forget his name. 23 Lockdown, something like that. Lockdown in 23.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how to seduce female prison guards. And it was hilarious. Yeah, it does look better there.
Better.
He's like, you have all the time in the world. Every time you see him, just, you drop that praise on him. Baby, you look so good. Man, I appreciate you. You're so wonderful. Always, every time they go by, you can snicker when they're not there. These are 2s, but they're 10s in prison. And they just sit there and they love them up every time they pass. Give them the attention. Give them the words of affirmation. Their husbands don't. And he's like, it happens all the time. Before long, they're breaking them out. They're sneaking them stuff. He talked about how to seduce is the wrong word because it sounds intimate, but how to get guys on your side. It's like half of the male prison guards, they want to be cool. Some are sticklers. They want to be badasses and above you, but most of them just want to be like, hey, this is just my job. I'm not an asshole. I'm like a prisoner, but I work here, and treat him cool. He's like, I like those guys. They're good. Just, you're nice to him for a little while. Like, yeah, bro, you're one of us. Yeah, you're not an asshole like those other prison guards. Hey, man, I got $500 for you. You can bring in a cell phone. Hey, man, I got $1,000 for you. If you can get this done, bring in some Black and Golds. I don't know what that is. Is that a cigarette?
Black and Milds, but close enough.
And he was just talking about how to over time, just be cool to these guards. Be nice to them. Get on the inside. And you have years to win them over. And I'm looking at this guy and that woman. I suspect when she goes grocery shopping, she's not the center of attention, right? But in prison, she is. In prison,
she is, because she's the only one with 2 carts.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I like
she's the only adult sitting backwards in that little seat.
In prison, she's the cat's meow. All those guys are catcalling her like she's the hottest thing there because she is. And so that guy is the alpha male. He's the one who landed that babe.
Well, he landed her in a world of trouble because their flee from the police ended a couple days ago in Indiana when they ended up in a high-speed chase. They had several guns, but the police must have pit maneuvered them or something because the car crashed out, and she shot herself in the head immediately because she knows better than to go to prison. And they drug his ass out and sent him back to Alabama.
Well, that took a turn. My word. All right.
Oh, you think that's funny? Did you guys see the thing I sent to you on WhatsApp of them songify? They take those mugshot of both of them and they I don't know, they do that new thing where they can do a deep fake songify thing where the heads sing a song and it's even when I'm with my boo, all I think about is you. It's pretty dark. I got to laugh.
You had a pretty good voice in that fake song.
Yeah, thank you. And Taylor was like, "Wait, is that the prison guard who shot herself in the head?" I was like, "Yeah,
yeah, I'm evil."
I mean, I didn't make it. I'm a distributor. Okay,
I'm a businessman. I do business.
Businessman doing business over here. I sent half a dozen meme videos a day. That was just the darker one today, okay? There was some better stuff. There was that one guy who let the woman hit him at least 15 times in the face. He's taking it. He's like, all right, you're hitting me in the face now. This is you hitting me in the face. And then he hits her so fucking hard with a right hook that she gets turned off. And the best part is there's a car between her, him, and the camera woman. So it looks like she just sent her to the shadow realm. Like she fell to the floor.
There's a woman in the driver's seat filming over the car. There's a woman in the passenger seat hitting him. He isn't even like he's talking to the driver while being hit. And he's like, look, I'm being punched right now for the record. And she just repeatedly punching him. And it's not having much of an effect. And like Kyle said, at one point he hits her back. Taylor described it as the kind of punch you can only get away with on a woman. Like, you've never seen a guy load up a punch for 6.5 seconds.
Dude, throw in a right punch where it started at his left ankle. And it's just, woo! And the woman did not know what was coming. And it was the after effect was hilarious because he deleted her from existence. You couldn't see her anymore. And then the woman's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, she was hitting me and I just knocked her out. And she's like, yeah, you did just knock her out. And he's like, I don't even Well, he's like starting to realize what he did. He's like, I don't even care. Like, it's just like, it's like, no, you realize like no one's gonna take your side. It doesn't matter that you.
Oh, that's not true. I'm on
17
that guy's side.
I mean people that are going to be making decisions on his life behalf. No one
went over
think
the
it's
jury
fine.
for him. He put up with more than enough, I think. She hit him, I'm going to estimate, like 25, 35 times. How many times was he supposed to get hit before he defended himself?
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying in the court of public opinion, people aren't going to care for that.
I think they will.
You think so? I think it was very funny.
Okay.
And
I'm also on board.
It was bullshit because, like, when Woody was saying 25 to 35, no one who hasn't seen it, don't think he's exaggerating. Those are literal numbers. She probably hit him 25, 27 times before he unloaded. It's just the fact that he brought a nuke to a sidearm battle that was almost. You could like. The only sound louder than his like arm hitting her head was like her hitting the ground. Just like if you dropped a wet bag of potatoes.
Have you seen the video where there's a guy? He's not a tough guy. He looks like he's short and a little overweight, but he's being bullied by a child.
Yeah.
It's a great video. That guy
the kid is like pushing him against, and the kid thinks he can beat up this grown man. But this is a man with man strength. He's not the toughest guy, but he is a full-grown adult male, and he's not like
rather short.
Like, a little short, I thought. Yeah,
like maybe like
5'6", 5".
He looked really short, and that's why the kid was targeting him. He was like, "Oh, look at you, a really short grown ass man." But it's like, oh, y'all might
be shorter than him.
Yeah.
He still had 4 inches on the kid, but he might have been 5'4".
Sure. Yeah, Costanza body type.
Stout.
But like everyone here knows, our listeners are 99.9% men. Like there's something about like testosterone strength that's just different than like prepubescent kids or girls or whatever.
That T hit different.
Yeah. I only brought up that video where the guy eventually has enough and just, what does he slam the kid or something? Does he pick him up and
down or
pushes him
like
down and the kid maybe starts to cry?
If it's the one I'm thinking of, he like picks him up, right? And like then
I think I got
anyway. I'm with grown ass man's side. I'm on his side. Court of public opinion says maybe you're not supposed to beat up children. Nay. You're not supposed to beat up children unless they're asking for it.
I got a video I'll send you after the show tonight of it's in England somewhere, Britain somewhere, whatever the fuck. And like this guy's being bullied in an alleyway. He's probably 40, and this other guy's also like 40, but the other guy's like twice his size, and he's the aggressor. And this guy was painting his fence, and this guy didn't like this man was painting his own fence, and he had taken the blue paint with his finger and put it on the man's face. And now he's continuing to like bully him down the alleyway. And the guy's wife is filming from the second floor, looking down at the alley. And this guy is like, he's clearly like, I need you to hit me now for the camera so that we can do this. Like that's what he's doing. He's just like, he's got his hands down, but his fists are clenched, and he's standing up straight, and he's just like, well, what are you gonna do about it then? That's all he'll say. And the big guy is just full of like insults and all sorts of stuff. Finally, big guy throws this really awkward punch that makes him kind of fall forward, and little man starts piecing him up with like first it slaps. He hits him with like a fucking Compton slap right off the bat, and the guy's like stunned by that. It's like he would have probably ran away if you'd said get out of here, but no, he's coming with hooks. They get in close at one point because the big man like pushes him into the corner. He immediately goes to short headbutts. He's like bam, 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 like headbutting this guy.
Nice.
It's like get the fuck off.
that is a playing for keeps move.
And then it's just little accurate hooks, and he knocks him out 2, maybe 3 times, and the big man keeps getting up, and he'll knock him down again. And the wife is on the phone with the cops, and she's like, well, I think it's okay now. My husband's really beating him badly.
I think he won. It's okay.
Yeah.
Actually, don't send the police. The other man's dead. We're going home.
It is wild, like watching those videos compared to videos where like guys are armed or like someone's carrying a gun, because when that happens, it's just like 2 guys screaming at each other, and then like someone will gently lift their hand and be like, "What was that? A hand? Was that a fist? I saw that!" Like just like itching, both on the trigger, ready to go.
One of my favorite, one of those like in public gun self-defense. It's an older video. I'm sure you've all seen it at the bingo hall, where some literally some guy was like, this is what's gonna get me on top. I'm gonna rob a bingo hall, and like some 79-year-old man stands up and executes him like from 15 20 feet away. This guy comes in with his gun like, put your fucking hands, and this guy shoots him in the skull from 15 feet and drops him deader than dead. It barely became a scene.
Taylor.
If the gun would have been silent, the game wouldn't have missed a guess. Like how quickly this guy turned around and executed this guy.
Taylor, do you think there's any chance that right after he blew the guy's head off, he went bingo? And then like everyone,
That would be great.
Frank,
No, except-
Frank wins. Frank wins the lawnmower.
Yeah, Frank wins. Give him the lawnmower, everyone. He's keeping you alive today. Meanwhile, there's one like 95-year-old woman in there who's like, I thought this was finally the ticket. Just
There's
won't
one who
die.
didn't notice the gunfight. She's still over there stamping, not even noticing the fucking gunfight. She's dead to the world. I want to. You talked about going to the burn clinic to feel better about yourself. Like, what are some other places that would do the trick?
Midget
Like-
convention.
Oh, do you think the dating would be good there? Like, do you think that like a normie walks in and they're all just snailing around?
I imagine that you wouldn't be allowed in.
You like that one?
I like
That was evil. Evil Kyle speaking.
No, I like because they say from the one video I've watched on YouTube many years ago, I remember bits of that these midget conventions, as they're preferred to be called, are where they all have crazy tantric sex with each other a lot. They have a bunch of fun. They have a bunch of sex, and it's just little people who are allowed there. And so I would imagine if you tried to show up and be a dick and be like, I identify as a little person, they'd be like, get the hell out of here. Can you ride roller coasters? Then gone.
Go to Egypt.
Go
They've got
enjoy a
cool
theme
coasters
park,
there.
Tolly. That's what they say.
No, they call them biggers.
Oh,
We don't
Damn
take
it.
kindly to these biggers.
That's hilarious.
You've seen that bit, right? Like, the where the midget police officer pulls the
Yeah,
guy over,
yeah.
and then he walks up the little ladder to pull him over, and he's like, we don't take kindly to biggers around here, boy.
If I saw it, I was so high I don't remember it.
Oh, from what I understand, the guy who made that is from like the small town next to my little small town in Georgia, like maybe Madison County, Georgia. But somehow he's the same guy, I think, who does that shit where they're fake videos, but they're old school, like early aughts comedy posts, like shit posts where like a police officer is pulling over a guy driving a scissor lift, and he refuses. He's drunk driving a scissor lift, and the cop tries to arrest him, but he just scissors himself up too high to be arrested. Because it's a scissor lift. And,
That's hilarious.
I think he clearly has access to a police car, because a lot of his videos incorporate that and a scissor lift.
That sounds like a hilarious skit. I'm gonna look up the scissor lift.
Oh, they're
Did
good.
you
I'll
see
find it
that?
later.
And the dwarfs.
Front page of Reddit today, the guy who was found not guilty of aggravated property damage. Did you see this? Here's the backstory. These people from the city, I presume, went to this guy's farm and they started drinking. I'm making this up. They probably like dropped their beer cans or whatever. He told them to leave, and the city slickers punched him. Not cool. So he comes back with a forklift, but not the American kind you're thinking of. It's like on a telescoping arm, and like it can go forward and lift things, and it's really agile. And he just starts fucking with their car with the forklift. He gets it on its side and rolls it off his property. And the guy's like trying to attack the driver in the door, but the vehicle is moving too much, and it's just dangerous. And it doesn't move like a car like you think. Like it's like articulating in the middle, and it's not dangerous to stand. I'm sorry, it's not safe to stand next to it like it is a car.
Yeah,
it almost goes sideways, and he just rolled the car off his property. Anyway, they went to.
Wait, you're missing the best part. It's much more agile than that. The best part was he hit the guy with the forks too and knocked him on his ass. he's like, imagine you turned your wheel all the way to the left, put it in reverse, and floored it. What the car would do? Like,
he's just whipping it around.
He whips it around and hits this asshole with the forks and knocks him on his ass. And what he was saying, it went to court.
How'd it go? Was he given the key to the city?
They decided that it was not an over-the-top response to punching him after being evicted from his property.
Yeah, totally on board with that.
That is revolutionary knowledge, because like the way they do it in court is always like you cannot exceed a fight's level of violence, right? So like if it's a fist fight, if you're not in fear for your life, can't pull a gun, right? If someone slaps you, it's not reasonable to pull out a gun and shoot him in the chest. But if someone comes at you with a knife, then it is. Like you can't, supersede it. So that is great to know that forklifts are legally on the level of fisticuffs.
Well, that's in the UK.
It was UK.
Oh, in the UK. Okay.
Yeah, we'll probably be more strict.
So in the US, where are forklifts? Like, when does a fight go from fist to forklift?
Immediately.
As soon as someone hops in the driver's seat.
It's like, the fight goes like shove, fuck you, no fuck you, punch, forklift.
Now, hey, bitch, you stand here and wait 50 minutes for me to go to the warehouse I work at and steal a forklift and drive it here. You know what? This will be better on Monday. Give me your contact information. We'll work this out.
Imagine you're in a bar and you hit a guy, and then out of the corner of your eye, his wife comes around the corner on a forklift, just like bringing the reinforcements. Man.
Cheryl, bring the Bobcat around. Taking everyone with me. Yeah, Alpha wasn't getting as many clicks. Now Sigma's a thing, and it's like, okay. What other Greek letters of men are we?
Sigma male is a thing now. That's like what you aspire to be.
It's like the beyond alpha.
I don't actually understand what it means compared to alpha, other than like it seems like a more autistic alpha person, like someone who doesn't understand what they're doing, isn't socially couth. But I don't know. Kyle, do you know what a Sigma grind set is?
I refuse.
What? I understand what a Sigma grind is?
I just think it's silly. I've read it twice, and it was so stupid both times I read it that I couldn't. I refused to put it in my memory warehouse. I was just like, not that. No, we don't keep that one.
Yeah.
And so I purposely forgot it. It's something about not even caring about the system that the alpha wants to be the best at. It's something like that. And
I don't even understand what that means. So it's like someone who's really good at Magic the Gathering.
He just doesn't care about the score anymore. He's gone beyond the game.
Okay.
If someone were to care about working out and making money, that would be an alpha. If someone were to leave society and build a cabin in the middle of the mountains and become self-sufficient, that would be Sigma.
Or if someone were to just have a lot of money and be jacked because that's who they are.
Yeah, that'd be Sigma. Now, that's how.
What is someone who takes 3 days to pack and naps a lot? What alpha? What letter would they be?
Same letter as people who are stuck in an overeating cycle.
I guess it depends what you're packing to do.
Well, he's probably going on a paramotor trip, but it could be anything.
Dude, no, there is nothing. If that's the definition of Sigma, straying from normal pursuits and being the best at some other shit, then paramotoring is very Sigma.
I think Zach dropped a paragraph of nonsense that some people made up.
Let me read it. I just we're about to. The Sigma male grind set refers to the superior mindset possessed by the male at the top of the social hierarchy. What am I getting wrong? Why is people laughing?
No, the way he said grind set in it.
Also known as the Sigma. The grind set is often mentioned when the Sigma does something that is considered base and red-pilled. Society, run by betas, views the Sigma as a threat. He is thus often a victim of society ostracism for his intrinsically based nature. He is the victim of a systemic societal hate crime. I knew all of those words, and I feel like that should go.
It sounds like they're pretty cool.
where like where the terms are funny is whenever you use them ironically, right? So if I was to say like, hey, my Sigma grind set is giving Adderall to homeless people and telling them there's gold in all the abandoned houses, so they bring me copper. That's my Sigma grind set. Like that's where the meme finds its threshold.
See, that would be a grind set. Being a sort of quasi slumlord with a large access to drugs.
Quasi slumlord.
Yeah, that would be what you'd want to be. It's like those stories where you hear where someone feeds crows a lot and then the crow brings them marbles and coins and protects them from other birds or whatever the fuck a crow would protect them. You get those homeless people on your side.
Mm-hmm.
No one can stop you.
That's the setup. Like that's the Sigma grind set. See, you've already put it together.
We're already there. Sigma grind set is foregoing traditional income revenues and inventing and selling cum pills. That's true. Sigma grind.
It kind of is if you like. It's got a little red pill in there. It's got a little off the grid, thinking on your own.
We're off the grid. We're red pill.
Red pill. There's one. That's another.
Yeah,
dude, I learned what the pills meant recently.
Really? I feel like that shit is ancient.
But I never really dug into what red, blue, and black pills were.
Oh yeah.
I got you. Okay.
I know that the
can also be white pill. That's optional.
They say blue pill is like the bad option in the Matrix. Like you believe everything. Red pill is like
stay in the system.
You question whatever. And then black pill is like, I am so depressed. I'm so sad. Yes. I don't think anything's going to go good again, which is like, don't be that pill, but pick a better color.
Right.
I've got my own technique or my own take on these. To me, blue pill's the one you aspire to be, right? A blue-pilled romantic guy just tries to get the best partner he can and loves them for who they are, find a compatible match, etc. A red pill, romantically, assigns a score to people based on what they bring to the table, right? Guys, of course, attractive is a thing, but also like their provider status, their age, their whatnot. These are all part of their scorecard. Girls, it's mostly how hot they are. Being like having a good career, for example, doesn't boost a woman's status very much.
You don't think so?
Not really.
No, it can even knock them. Not even close. Not as much as for men.
So if she's making six figures, it doesn't. You don't care. Versus a cashier.
His point is, it's not as big a deal on the other side. Like it's not as high of a motivator.
I listened to More Plates, More Dates talk about it, and it's literally a negative to him. If this woman isn't focused on being Derek's support system, that's kind of a drawback. Right? He would rather have an unemployed chick who's there to order suntan lotion for his runs. And I made that up, but whatever. Right? Some chick who just gets that shit taken care of in the background versus someone who's making six digits and, living her own independent life in the silo there.
Okay. Right. I see both points. If you're going to employ her yourself, then that makes sense because he has a multi-tiered infrastructure-wide business going on. He has an entertainment wing and like a podcasting wing and a fucking like pharmaceutical wing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure soon there'll be like workout equipment or
There's
something.
There's a medical wing, and that's a good part too.
Oh my God! Don't forget the clinic. He's got a whole empire over there.
The whole point of digits doesn't change his income.
No,
probably. I made that up, but I'm guessing. Okay. Right. So he would rather have someone who's just like, "Hey, I noticed your shirts were ratty. I got you new workout shirts." In the background, just supporting him.
Or someone who could like run one of the wings of his empire probably wouldn't mind either. Someone you don't have to pay to be the manager.
And that you can really trust.
Yeah, that you can trust to count the money over there at the fucking... Make sure that they're not just like, oh yeah, we needed 2 buckets of paint. Yeah, just charge them for 2.
I just don't understand like the aspire to be blue-pilled. Because I don't see the blue pill thing as much as like right, left wing as like blue pill meaning like you just accept what you're told. Red pill meaning like you kind of you search out.
I just thought it was kinder like to me the blue pill romantic person, right? And again, it's red and blue sounds political, but in this context, it's not.
Yeah.
The blue pilled guy isn't like, I don't know, knocking a woman for earning too much, or evaluating her purely on looks, or like just having a dedicated way of keeping score that's unkind. I feel like the red pill guys are a little bit. One of the issues I have with red pill is how much they love the woman's downfall, right? So in the red pill mindset, a woman's value might peak at like 22, 23, right? She's super.
Wait, what do you mean red pill mindset? It's just like a term.
It's the mean part of it. And I'm laying it out. This is the part of it that I don't like. So in the red pill mindset, she peaks at like 22 or 23, right? But she doesn't want you, listener, and when she's 22, 23, she's only going for these super chats. So she runs up her body count, she hits the wall, and they fucking celebrate it. They're like, now we're both 30. Now I've hit my peak because my income has gone up. I'm still this, I'm still that. You, on the other hand, now you want me? No, F you. You don't have the same value you used to. Like, this is the red pill mindset. And that's why I think you don't aspire to be that guy.
I think maybe like
they call it hitting the wall when they realize that they don't have the same position that they used to, and they revel in it. They revel in this idea that, aha, you should have locked me in when you were 22. Now the tables have turned.
Sure. I don't know much about that. I never thought about the red pill, blue pill thing in like terms of like the sexual identity. I always just thought of like the meme of like
knowing and not knowing.
Yeah. Trusting or not trusting.
We haven't talked about that at all, but black pill people feel like who gets the girls was genetically determined at birth. Some people are just born chads, and there's nothing we can do about it to change our status.
Well, that's really embarrassing, but like even black pill people, like I
don't say it wrong.
Maybe I haven't like seen it in the correct way with like just because I don't see it just surrounding the sex. Like the people I see who are like black pilled or whatever on Twitter or 4chan or whatever, it's like I'm never gonna have a job that pays me enough to buy a house. I'm always gonna be in debt. I'm a slave to my bank. I did everything right. What do I do? Like that's the black pill I think of, not so much like I'm not gonna get pussy. Yeah. Yeah, incels is what I would say.
Now there are people who have been black-pilled by life, though. Like there just are.
Sure. Yeah, like the crippled, the short,
the burned.
Back to the burn. What's your problem with the burned?
Dude, burnt flesh is really gross. Like I would much rather
the crippled, the short, and the burned, the ultimate political triad.
The false dichotomy of crippled and short. We forgot burned.
Oh.
Yeah, we're done with red and blue pill. We're the many pills all times a day out of medical
Burn
necessity. All sorts of pills.
Take the burn pill, all of them.
Take the burn pill. That's great.
So in addition to red pill language, incels discuss the black pill, which means accepting that it's over and inferior men have no chance ever establishing a sexual relationship with women. As such, the community is defined by the relationship between heterosexual sex and masculine status. I kind of didn't understand the last sentence.
Who's writing that?
I don't know. Zach did. So anyway, yeah, black pill people just feel like they have no ability to change their station in life.
Yeah,
some people don't.
It would just be someone who's really fucking depressed. It seems like
come on. There are people who are just fucked. You know there are.
I know, but they are depressed as a result of being fucked.
I heard this guy on Rogan the other day, and he was talking about like how like each of the races in prison, but the leader is a car, or the race is a car, and the guy in charge, he has the keys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now rewind me, like what are we talking about? I got on the Rogan
black
thing.
Pill people.
Okay, there are people. All right. This bodysuit that each of us gets, right? That's our car. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
We got to drive this meat suit around. There are some inferior models.
Oh, of course.
There, just like there are some models that you're like, oh, if I had to drive that around every day, I wouldn't get anywhere.
I'm fat.
I want to counter that. I feel like
you're plump.
The best version of almost everybody is really, really good. Practically anybody can be an 8, right? Get some Invisalign braces, eat right and exercise, and you're an 8, bro. Like, you've got it. That's all there is to it. Kyle says 7.
You
Okay.
you could definitely get way above average by just like
For sure.
doing all of that shit that you think is basic bitch shit, like just like good hygiene stuff, getting a haircut every 2 weeks or whatever, like keep staying
Not
clean.
sports clips so much. You can't go anywhere.
That part in your hair is killing me. It is so far towards the crest of your skull.
I can't look at it.
Closer,
I
isn't
can't
it?
look at it. I've been looking at Taylor the whole show.
Zach, put me on the big screen. We're going to be
Look
doing
at
it
that.
this way going forward.
Oh,
I can't take it anymore.
You
He's
simultaneously
got a great head
look
of hair.
younger and older.
There were times today where I thought it
Yeah.
looked good. I took selfies and shit, and I was like, you know what? This is a good
Did you
video.
know?
that
Those
haircut,
are
one of
the
those
tips I want to
times.
get from you.
yes, please send those selfies over because, like, your hair. It's like, have you seen that photo of whether you don't know if it's a bunny or a duck? It's like that. It's like I don't know if it's bad or terrible.
It looks like you've had a head injury.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's
Oh,
a girl,
man.
right? I don't
No,
even
Woody
I
has
don't know.
to go to the burn clinic.
Yeah, right. Thankfully there's a burn clinic right by Macon.
Oh,
For all the insults I'm getting tomorrow.
it is a hat day tomorrow, Woody. A hat
It's a hat day.
You know what? It might be.
Or
a
you know
hat
what you
weekend.
could
I
do?
literally have a hat in the truck. I might be wearing it all weekend.
You can distract with other accessories, other accoutrements. If you
What would
become
work?
a guy who wears a ring on every finger, very quickly, no one's gonna notice that. If you get a magnetic
to
earring,
gesture
no
a
one's
lot.
gonna know.
Face tattoo by tomorrow.
If you wear unbelievably tight pants, it won't be a topic of discussion. Everyone will say, "Man, Woody's ass looks tremendous." In those pants." Did you notice his fucking Mo Howard haircut? I didn't.
Mo Howard?
He's one of the Three Stooges.
Oh no!
A giant implant
No,
on
it's-
the
it's-
diamond implant on
Hang
the
on.
forehead.
I'll get a dot.
Oh
Zach,
my
will you-
gosh.
Zach, pull up Mo.
While he does, what we were
Larry.
saying, I'm convinced if you get some Invisalign braces, hit the gym, and eat right, and the version of you that will emerge is really good. You know, like you'll be fit, you'll have some definition. Everybody can have abs. Like, you know, you can be good. You're not born bad.
All right. Well, that's not what. That's
Well, guess what? It was the only one of the Three Stooges whose name I remembered at the time. I was making the joke.
Yeah, Curly was bald.
Larry, Curly, and then there was Shemp.
Oh,
Shemp. Yeah.
and I remember
Who
Larry.
passed
Didn't
away
he have
tragically.
curly hair? I don't look like that.
No.
it was,
Oklahoma City.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
was-
The
it was
95 Oklahoma
90
City bombing. He
95.
died in 2001.
95, yeah.
95.
It was
Gotcha.
a response to Waco. So
Yeah, it
Waco
was.
in 93 or 94, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was right after 95, yeah.
Yeah. What a fucking mess all that shit was.
Yeah.
I was too young. I was only 4. So
Yeah, but
I
I've seen the
wasn't really in
videos.
tune.
I was talking to my dad about Waco the other day. I don't think that those people were doing anything wrong in there. You know, the government story, we believed it back then because everybody believed it when the government said somebody was a pedophile. But like, they were like, yeah, there's this compound full of pedophiles that don't want to pay their taxes, and we're gonna go get them. And
Yep.
it's like, wait, what? Well, they've got.
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
a weird,
the
like
whole
when I
compound
never
of 'em?
really cared
It
that
was
much,
a
but I looked
cult,
into it and
right?
it looked ridiculous.
So
They called it a cult,
It was a
but I
religion.
don't know.
it was the Branch Davidians or the church.
Oh, yeah, that's a cult.
Yeah,
Oh, come
Well-
on.
kind of.
What was the name of your church, Taylor?
The Branch Davidians. That's how I know I'm an inside man.
They did have an inside man that ratted him out, who actually went back later and said he regretted doing it in the court case that followed. I've considered doing a Waco video for a long time now. I have to get my language right because it's real easy for me to get fired up about stuff like that. So I just gotta like tame myself as I go into it.
Easy for you to fly too close to the sun.
Instead of
very easy.
Yeah.
Way too close to the
might
sun.
get a little too real.
If you want one that's more cut and dry, though, you could just do Ruby Ridge. That's
oh boy, will I?
Are you working on a Ruby Ridge video?
I'm not going to do a Waco video without bringing up Ruby Ridge because it was the same negotiation team at both. So great job, guys.
I didn't even know that.
Yep,
they got to keep their job.
Yeah, they got promoted. As a matter of fact, the guy who was the not the lead negotiator, the lead of the fire team at Waco, was given a promotion to captain, I believe, after the events of Waco.
Oh, that seems
he was viewed in the media as taking down a dangerous group of radicals, even though everyone who was on the ground said that he had actually killed 82 children. Something along those lines. He got a star pinned on his chest, and everyone said that they didn't know that years since and regretted it. However, there are pictures of them posing with their rifles next to the bodies of children. So don't think they exactly cared that much. Like I said, see, it's easy for me to do that.
Those children could have been enemy combatants.
They could have,
They had little guns.
Guns and little grenades.
Look at this skeleton. He's clearly armed. Zap.
Nerfs of mass destruction.
One of the wildest things from that footage from the Waco thing is there's an FBI agent, maybe two, on like a landing. They've gone up one floor up a ladder, and they're on this landing, and now there's like a wall with that's the second floor with windows, and they've got guns, and I think he's got an MP5. I think I remember in his hand, and all of a sudden, machine gun fire comes from inside through the wall, and you can see the bullet holes coming out. And in the movies they'll like cut a circle in a door, but like you can't really do that most of the time. And I know I did it, but like you can't normally do that.
But you weren't about to commit an atrocity. Yeah.
But this guy from the inside is like, and you see the bullets pop, and the FBI guy is like down and rolling, and he does not care that he's a floor up. And you can imagine if you're getting shot at and you're 12 feet off the ground, you're like, the ground is not. I would love to eat some ground right now. So he's just right off the roof of that building. But that's some shit that I've only ever seen in movies. That it's a trope where the bullet holes come through the wall in sequence in this perfect line. But they did it. It was wild. It had to be an AK or something like that in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
I know a guy who runs a merch store, and one of the pictures he has on the merch store is the ATF agent falling off the roof holding his chest, and it says "Have a nice day" across it. But I get
$5 every one.
Wow, that's so insensitive to members of the ATF.
Yeah,
who we all love.
Established people. Oh, speaking of Ruby Ridge, the only person, the only ATF agent who was convicted or any investigation who was done during that time was the sniper who took the shot that killed Vicky Weaver. He was being charged by the state of Idaho, and the feds said, "This is our case, we'll deal with it." So they picked it up, and then as soon as Idaho dropped their case, the feds dropped their case, and he was never charged or given anything. So funny how that works. Yeah,
it's pretty gross.
Yeah,
pretty gross, pretty sad.
It's a video about it. I'll watch it. I'll say this: when I often don't finish your videos, and that's a compliment because I start your videos at like 2-3 a.m. and I often get like the shivers. Like, I get creeped. Cool. I get creeped out. I get that. I get like spooked, like. Because sometimes you will pose these like scenarios or put forward these scenarios or pose these questions that don't have normal answers. You're like, wait, what? What do you mean they never saw him again? They found his wallet in San Diego. Okay, like you can't even like with the other one, the people that got poisoned or whatever. We were pretty close. Where you guys were, with the poison. Yeah, it probably was a poison. You just didn't know that. If you knew more about the region, you might have even made the leap to like the weapons. If that was like on the list of like things, like also they tested chemical weapons there. Like, if you know, once you know that, like it makes sense. You can connect the pieces. But some of the stuff that you've given, it's like there was one where a guy had disappeared in like Texas, and ended up in like Washington State or something. And the facts were so weird.
Was this the guy who was found with his wallet that had a map drawn out on it?
I think so. Maybe he was ex-military or something. He was an older man.
A drawn map. That's so fun. Did someone find it?
Oh boy! So that case as well. I'm going to mess up the facts.
Don't worry, we don't care.
But like the short facts, if it's the guy I'm thinking of, he had told his wife that he was an FBI agent who was in a lot of hot water, and then he disappeared for a short while, like 3 days, and then his wife received a phone call from a random woman who said, "Your husband's okay," and then quote Leviticus or some book of the Bible, and then hung up. 3 days later, his body's found in the middle of the desert. He was shot in the back of the head, his hands handcuffed.
What was the verse he quoted? Sorry to interrupt.
It was some Old Testament verse, and I remember in the video I talked about what the verse was. It had something to do with 7 years. It was something about, and the king returned to his dominion after 7 years, something like that.
Okay.
So people hyper focused on the number 7. So anyway, then he was found handcuffed, executed in the middle of the desert, like 3 states away. On his body, they found a dollar bill that had certain letters circled across the top. And then on the other side, it was a grid map of like a street with an X marks the spot. I don't think anyone ever figured out what street that was.
What were the letters circled? What did it spell?
Oh my gosh.
I guess it depends. Like, what would it? What
how you assemble them?
$20. What the fuck does it say at the top of money?
I am dead.
E pluribus unum, in God we trust.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's got the weird Illuminati all-seeing eye triangle.
How do you not know what's on money?
I didn't remember what was at the top. I knew E pluribus unum was on there somewhere, but I didn't know if it said $20 or what was on the top.
Anyway, he did that. He circled a bunch of other details.
I don't think you've ever seen money.
Because everyone works in coal mines.
Doesn't drinking moonshine make you go blind and die?
It can't. Only if you're like real bad batch will. If you're bad at it, it will.
Because it's what is it called? Methanol. It's methanol gets in there, and then that makes you go blind. Because that's why they run the still first and let the methanol out before it's just ethanol, right?
You're supposed to siphon the concentrated.
I watched 3 episodes of Moonshiners 10 years ago, high off my ass. I think I know what I'm fucking talking about.
I think a big part. So a big part of what
Wendigoon. Subject matter expert on the
I saw an
here.
episode of Moonshiners blackout drunk in 2012, so I think I know what's going on.
Anyway, no, you're pretty much right. Like the reason that you siphon some of it off, or you get the straight chemicals or whatever out, is because it can, for one, kill you or just make you go blind if you're not careful. Normally, like I said, it's if you're bad at it, that's when it's a problem because you're not doing it correctly. A bunch of my family, a bunch of my family did like bootlegging and all that. So it was like an insult. If someone went blind, they were considered stupid. Because they had no clue what they were doing.
Because they didn't do it correctly. And
correct.
Yeah.
It's like, you hear about old Jim Crow, Jim Bob, or whatever up on the mountainside.
Crow?
You hear about old Jim Crow?
I thought
you won't believe the words he has to say about this certain group. I'm no political genius, but I don't care for this Jim Crow fella.
I think he's kind of a jerk.
I give him 1.5 thumbs down. The second half was because he thought he thought he was helping.
This?
Yes, it was like that, like a little drink. Yeah, he tried to help very racistly. just couldn't get the pieces together. Yeah.
I'm not getting behind this one.
Very racistly. But yeah, so like a bunch of the old family did like moonshining. There was which is where NASCAR comes from, a true American tradition. How's
that connection? Moonshine funded NASCAR in the beginning.
Bootlegging did. So the way that it worked is whenever Prohibition started in the 20s or the 30s. What year did Prohibition start and end? It was like 20.
It was like, wasn't it late 20s to early 30s?
I think it ended in 32 or something like that.
Yeah, 33.
Anyway, before then, vehicles were just starting to become widely produced, and if there was a vehicle, they would just drive it standard until they began to need to outrun the police. So whenever they started to need to outrun police, they started 20 to 33 according to Zach. They started needing to soup up the engines of vehicles, which was the first time anyone tried to tune their cars to go faster. So after Prohibition ended in 33, there was now this entire market in the South of people who had souped up vehicles and done engines to make cars go fast. So they figure, well, we've got all this, we might as well do something with it. Let's just race each other. And that's where NASCAR began.